Hello everybody, welcome back to the Stacey West Preview Pod. My name is Jake. We're here for another preview. Unfortunately, it's been a bad week for Lincoln, hasn't it? But to cheer us all up, we've got Ant, who's going to tell us how amazing Crewe are. How are you doing, Ant? All right?
Good evening, Jake. Good evening to your listeners as well. I'll try my best to be impartial, I think is the best way to say it, because I know that you're not in the best of form at the minute, but I'm hoping our conversation will obviously perk everyone up a little bit.
And just before we get onto the football, how are you finding lockdown life? I can see the trim's taking a bit of a hit, but, how about in general? How are you finding it?
Yeah, I'm okay. I can't complain in any way, shape or form. It just feels like Groundhog Day at the moment every day, doesn't it? So, but I can't complain. A lot of people have got it a lot worse than me, mate. I think the football is definitely a good escape and something else to really focus on. I think without football, I would really be struggling. But other than that, I'm absolutely fine.
Because that gap from March all the way through to, I think it was September when League One started, it was just abysmal, wasn't it? There was no hope. There was no, we had the playoffs to get us through, but it wasn't, you weren't watching because you'd obviously got promoted automatically. We'd not really done anything of note. It was a real bland patch, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we were obviously pushing. We were top of the league at the time, so it was between us and Swindon really, who was going to actually win the league. And obviously that run-in was really, really interesting because it was swapping pretty much on a weekly basis. And also we had our away day away at Port Vale taken away from us, which would have been something special in a real promotion season. I think for a lot of people it was just the abruptness of it, because obviously you had the season, you had the outlook, and then it was just bam, nothing then for 6 months. So yeah, completely understand and get that.
Do you think your away day at Port Vale in your promotion winning season would have been as good as ours, as we beat them 6-2 and 4-0?
Well, we're obviously their fiercest rivals, so obviously it's always good to get some good wins like that. But to do it on their backyard and because we knew that we were gonna go automatically. It was more, is it first, second, or third? And I think everyone thought, right, it's end of March. If we beat them, I think we'll do it. And I think it was 4 years prior we actually got relegated at Vale. So it was sort of like it had come full circle where, we got relegated there a couple of seasons ago with one of the worst teams that I've ever seen, to then come back a couple of years later with, a golden generation of academy products to win on their patch, whilst they were pushing for playoffs as well. So we could have really done some damage to them. So I think that's my main thing about last season. But like I said, it's good that we've actually got a season now, and it doesn't look like, obviously, with everything, that the season's going to, fully continue. We'll see it out.
It looks like Crewe have made the best of it than all the rest of the promoted teams, because obviously you've got Swindon and Northampton battling out for relegation, and you've got yourselves and Plymouth, who are sort of outsiders of the outsiders for the playoffs. How have Crewe adapted to the third tier since their return?
We've always been looking up. We've never had to look down. We've never been in that conversation of being in trouble. It's been we've been comfortably mid-table, and like you say there's a shout of the playoffs, which is more than we could have asked for on our budget, and obviously our team, the size of club that we are, to be pushing with the playoffs with the big players that are up there. I think it's an absolute fantastic achievement. And I think with anything or any club, to have hope or something to play for at this stage of the season, considering we were in obviously League Two last year, to come up and still do that, I think is absolutely fantastic. And I don't think we could have asked for any more as a club and where we're at. So I think it's a really successful season so far. I don't think we'll quite make the playoffs, but like you said, there's just that hope there, isn't there? There's always that thing where it's like, we could do, we're in the mix, we're in the conversation, rather than, like you said, Northampton and Swindon, who are, Swindon, they beat us to the league last year, and they're going straight back down. So it's if you compare it just on that and where we are, it's miles apart. And I think we've done really well whilst playing good football as well. That was never going to change in whatever league that we're in. And I think we've adapted really well. And I think obviously if we're smart in the summer, we'll be a consistent League One team next season, hopefully.
And with 2/3 into the season now, what have been your sort of standout moments that you've had throughout your first campaign back in League One?
I'm trying to think of particular games, but like I said, I just think it's the whole fact that we've managed to keep most of the team together, for starters, and we've played. I think we have kicked on and adapted as well. So there's no outstanding moment where you would say, it stands out. And probably the one that I do think about is the 3-3 with Rochdale, where we were 3-0 up at half time, thinking that we were going to, get into the top six and we were going to batter in 5 or 6, and then come the full time whistle, it was 3-3. So I think of memorable moments in the season. It's just little things like that. But I think as a fan, all right, fair enough. I'm not saying I didn't want the 3 points, but you'd want. It's not 0-0s. It's not 1-0s. It's always, it's always something or some jeopardy or some, some football there or something to go for. We're always on the front foot. So I think the fact that we managed to keep all of our players in the summer was really big. And then we've actually added really well as well in terms of our recruitment this year in, Mika Mandron, Omar Beckles, Luke Murphy coming back, club legend, and, been to Leeds, been to Bolton, been all to all these clubs, sold for £1 million. That's sort of the calibre of player that's, was moulded with us, got promoted with us back in 2012 and then also won the Johnson Pate at Wembley as well. So I think we've recruited really well. We've kept a good team, and like I said, we're giving it a go. We're playing good football, and I don't think you could ask for more than that. You always want more, don't you? So we should be doing this. Like, no, hang on, we're doing incredibly well for where we are and what the size of our club.
And Dave Artell, I saw a picture of him on the social media from last night at Blackpool, putting up the fourth officials board for a substitution. He's taken like a duck to water really into League One, hasn't he? He's been really impressive. You must be really proud of him.
If you actually listen to Dave himself, he's incredibly intelligent. He knows football, but he also knows people. He knows when he came in 4 years ago, taking over from Steve Davis.
Yeah,
we were heading towards in the conference in League Two. We were 18th, and we were sinking fast.
Yeah.
He came in and he just sorted us out. And the way that he said it is that you had a talented group of players there, but had the heads are just completely gone.
Yeah.
He's bred a culture and a mentality into that club that everyone's behind. And that includes the fans, the players, the staff. There's a 5-year vision as well, on and off the pitch. And then when he actually speaks, he's very articulate, but then he also comes out with some absolute pearlers as well. And you think, what? But it's funny. And I think that holding up the board last night was one of those things that you think, yeah, that's Dave Artell. And I think there's been quite a few memes today where instead of like the numbers on the board, there's been things like, Vale are getting relegated or, just little memes and stuff like that. But he always says it how it is. And he's always honest. And I think sometimes that can rub opposition fans up the wrong way. A prime example of that was Sunderland on Saturday. So he said, you said obviously the question, how well are we doing in League One? Well, we're having a go with Sunderland and, we took them all the way and they'd only salvaged a draw after 2 worldy strikes where we brought, people like Chris Maguire on who were on, X amount of week. Aidan McGeady who's on X a week. And he's not saying that's an issue. He's just saying, look, our average wage is £750 a week. We're competing with you when you've got players on £10,000 a week. Mm-hmm. He's not saying that, that as an excuse why he's done it. He's just saying, well, this is what we're competing against. This is how well we're doing as a club when obviously our players can obviously go toe to toe with teams like that with bigger budget. that's all he was saying. Whereas the Sunderland fans were like, oh, he's just using it as an excuse and all that. It's like, no, if you just actually listen to what he's saying, you understand it. And he's got I think he's got a degree. I think it's in biomedical science or something like that. He was studying for that when he was coming to the end of his career. So he is actually academically smart. But I think that then transpires onto his coaching technique and his coaching method as well. So there'd be no one more that I'd want leading our club, and I trust him 110%, basically from where he's taken us, what he's done, the culture that he breeds, and then also, I think sometimes with the summer with us, it's going to be our biggest summer in a couple of years. And I know it sounds a bit silly saying, if we finish mid-table in League One.
Yeah.
Perry Ng's gone to Cardiff. Harry Pickering's gone to Blackburn Rovers, but he's been loaned back to us, but he's gone in the summer. Ryan Wintle is out of contract. Charlie Kurt's probably going to be picked up by a championship club as well. So we're going to be losing a massive spine of that Golden Academy generation. And I think if someone else wasn't in charge, I'd be really worried and be going, that'll be it. Next season's going to be a struggle. But I trust Dave completely because of, like I said, with the recruitment that he's made this summer, and I think the confidence that he breeds into the academy lads as well. So when NG went, we had Travis Johnson, who was an academy lad, and I think he's only really played 10, 13 games. And everyone's like, we shouldn't give him a chance. He goes, no, I'll put him in if he's ready. I believe in him. And you'll go, bloody hell. You're like that as a fan. Imagine that as a young lad where he's like, the club captain's gone, who's been in that position for 4 or 5 years, played at a championship level. A young lad might be thinking, that's...
Yeah.
I don't really know, if he puts him in at Lincoln away, and you'll go, Perry used to play here, and, I'm a bit thingy. Dave Artell's like, no, I believe in you, mate. You've trained well. You're here for a reason. And that's just that's what I mean about the mental thing. It's always positive. It's always, it makes you feel 10 foot tall. And he's saying that to the players. That's what we think. Because I think when we were under Steve Davis 4 years ago and we got relegated, it was an excuse, little old Crewe, we haven't got the budget, we can't compete. Whereas now Dave's saying, like I said, the comparison with Sunderland, it's like, it doesn't matter how much they're on, we can compete with them. I'm sure we all know that Lincoln have got a bigger budget than us and they're going to be paying the players a lot more, but it's 11 against 11 on that Saturday. It doesn't matter, so I think that's just the mentality and just the way he is. But he does come out with some absolute pearlers of sound bites. But I think it's refreshing because you'd rather listen to him rather than just the old cliches that you get from a footballing interview.
Yeah. I suppose the good thing for Crewe and their supporters is that he doesn't tend to get linked with the bigger jobs. You look at when we had Danny Cowley in charge, he was linked with West Brom, Sheffield Wednesday. Recently, before he signed his contract, Appleton was rumoured to be going to Bristol City. I suppose in terms of a stability point of view for Crewe, that that's massive that he's, not being not recognised, but
I know
turning that sort of, not being even considered for a job like that, because he's so emotionally tied to the club.
Yeah, I think that Appleton link came with the CEO from Bristol City, Mark Ashton. I think that's where a lot of the
Ashton,
a lot of the rumours weren't they? So I get that, but then I would look at it from the outside and go, well, Appleton's taken over from, like you said, the Cowleys. He's up there in Lincoln, for a real shot of getting promoted. Why would you? At the end of the season, if you didn't get promoted, I'd sort of get it more. But don't leave.
Like Darren Moore's done this year.
I can't get my head around it. It's it's March and you've decided to go out, and it's exactly the same thing. But you're absolutely right in terms of Artell. But I think it's because he does speak so honestly that I think maybe at a bigger club, the media would probably jump on it a lot more. So it'd be misconstrued or it'd be, put in a bad light. And then I think that might reflect badly on the club. So like I said, with that Sunderland one got so much traction because Sunderland are a big club.
Yeah,
if he went to a big club, that would be the same thing in or out. But the thing is with Dave Artell as well is that he genuinely believes of what Crewe is. He knows the limitations, but he understands the way that it is and the way that it works, and what their whole thing of is bringing through academy players. Maybe other big jobs wouldn't have that set up. It might be results. So I think he sees it as a long-term project as well. But I can't remember what job it was. He was on one of the shortlists for a job. I think it was. I'm just trying to think now.
Imagine if it was Stoke. Might have been. It could well have been Stoke when O'Neill went in.
Well, we were all thinking that's where Ryan Wintel's going to end up in the summer. To be honest, like I said, he's out of contract, so we all think he's going to end up at the Potteries. And Dave Artell wouldn't last long at Stoke because they hate him as it is anyway because of his affiliations with Crewe, and then to go in with Stoke, with their fan base and their budget and what they're trying to achieve, I just don't think it would be a good fit at all. But yeah, I think we've already resigned ourselves to Ryan Wintle leaving, and it's one of those that anybody but them. But then he's probably going to end up there and be on 30-40 grand a week from what he is now. So yeah. And
then just in terms of the squad on the pitch, I've pointed out a few key players in the way of Charlie Kirk and Mikel Mandron. I think had a real good start to his Crewe career, but I feel like he might have fizzled off a little bit by the sounds of following me on Twitter. Who else should Lincoln fans be looking out for?
Mikel Mandron's been absolutely fantastic, and I think if you just look at the goal scoring record, you could probably say yes, but he set up the 2 assists against Sunderland on Saturday, and a striker's obviously always going to be ranked on goals. I get that, but he's a target man, but he can play as well. So we always play 4-3-3. We have a focal point up front, and that's usually the big target man. So last season it was Chris Porter. This season it was Mikel Mandron. Mandron has been absolutely fantastic signing, and the ball just isn't lumped up to him like it was at Gillingham, to head it. A bit like the Dane Oliver at Gillingham. Yeah. All he has to do is, he's scoring goals, and I'm not saying it's a bad way at all. If you win games, whatever, fine. But he's expected to head it and do it that way. Mika's been taught to play a bit and keep us into play. Yeah. That saying, though, we've actually swapped to a 4-4-2 for the first time since it's come full circle again with Lincoln as well, because when we played you when we were last League Two in your promotion season on Boxing Day, we'd swapped to a 4-3-3. I hadn't looked back. 2 weeks ago, we switched to a 4-4-2 for the first time since that Lincoln game. So that shows how long we've been playing that system. Yeah. And the reason why is to get Chris Porter in the team alongside Mikel Mandron. So on the outside, you'll be going, 2 target men up front. League One, 2 target men. I bet they're just putting crosses in all the time and they're expected to head. No, it's not like that. We would never... We play football. Mika could run into the channels. Porter runs and, works for the team as well. And I think some teams now are sort of confused on how to do it because they're expecting the 2 target men for the ball to go in from the heads. It's not. It's going into feet and they're playing a bit. And I think they're just going, the centre halves are sort of like, we don't really know how to manage this or to deal with it. So that's interesting. Charlie Kirk's always going to be the danger man, and he's definitely going in the summer. If Charlie doesn't,
it was linked with Charlton. Was he linked with Charlton in the January window?
He was never going to go to Charlton because he saw that Perry NG went to Cardiff and Harry Pickering went to Blackburn. Yeah. So why would Charlie Kirk go to Charlton? Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Charlton are obviously a great club, big club. Could very well be. I know they're not in the best of form, but they could still get the playoffs come the end of the season and obviously pay good wages. I'm not saying that. But why would Charlie go to them in January when he's just seen 2 of his best mates who he's playing at the same level at, when he's going to wait till the summer and go, right, I'll see what championship clubs come in for me. And I think Dave Artell laughed off the offers for Charlton, to be honest, because they weren't good enough. It was the same from the offers from Cardiff and Blackburn. The first offers they gave were laughable. Yeah. And I think it was, a little old Crewe will accept anything. It's like, no, the Pickering's under contract for another 2 years. Kirk's under contract as well. It was NG who was the issue because, like Ryan Wintle, he was out of contract in the summer. The way Cardiff are going, he could be playing Premier League football next season. If he goes up, get a big, massive cash flow out of it. So Charlie Kirk, the thing is, Charlie Kirk, if we don't play, if Kirk doesn't play, we usually don't play. He's that key, and we always go back to the the lethal left wing we've got of Kirk and Pickering. It's just so telepathic. If Kirk gets it on the wing, Harry Pickering's going beyond him, and Kirk will pass him through, and they'll do 1-2. I don't think there's a better left side in the league. That's obviously debatable, but in terms of actual all-round play, it's absolutely fantastic, and they get each other. So yeah, you've obviously got your main threats in Kirk and Manjon, but our midfield with Tommy Lowry and Luke Murphy is obviously really special as well. Surprised more people haven't been speaking about Tommy Lowry, because I generally think he's an absolutely fantastic midfielder. Obviously stepped up a bit when you've got James Jones, and I'm glad he's still doing well at Lincoln. But it's that same mould.
Yeah.
One thing that we do at Crewe is we bring through some good centre midfielders. So yeah, I think we're well versed as well. We've also got the two Middlesbrough lads in Nathan Wood and Steve Walker. Steve Walker scored an absolutely fantastic goal yesterday at Blackburn, and Nathan Wood, for an 18-year-old centre back from a Championship club, has been absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, I think we've got something to test you.
Well, I'll just pass all that on to Michael Appleton, if that's all right with you then, Anne.
Don't forget to actually mention my namesake, Anthony Evans, as well. I'm actually the best footballer in the world. So
yes, we were linked with him. Is he from Paderborn or somewhere like that? We were linked with him.
Yeah, so he came through the Everton Academy and then went to Paderborn, but got relegated. They got relegated from the Bundesliga last season. Yeah, so I think it's sort of like a trial for him to see if he can hack it at League One level, because he's only 21, 22, and he's sort of moved about a bit. So I think he's just settling. And I think last night was the first time where we sort of saw, okay, he's got a bit here. Yeah. So we'll see.
So I'm going to try and make myself feel better, because obviously we've not had a very good 5 days or so. So I'm going to try and talk about the game that was played at Gresty Road earlier in the season that ended 1-0 to Lincoln, courtesy of Harry Anderson, who's one of our players that are out for the game, funnily enough. That day I thought that was the best Lincoln had played in a long time, in terms of the domination of the ball, the shots, the chances. We probably should have won. This might be being biased, but we probably could have won 4-0, and nobody else would have looked at it and said otherwise.
No, I agree.
Yeah. What was your sort of take on that game, and then how have Crewe changed since that performance?
There's not many teams that come to Gresty Road and play like you did. It's usually the other way around, because we're so strong at home. And you're probably right. It's probably the best away performance I've seen at Gresty Road. And I think, like you said, 1-0, it could have been, a lot more. But I don't feel we really tested you either. So I think you were quite comfortable with that. And the Harry Anderson goal was actually top quality. I re-watched it before, and that was you thinking, right, okay, well, if they're defending like that and they've got quality like that, they're going to go really well this season. So I don't think we played at our best that day. But like I said, I think obviously our main lesson was the cup game when we first played you, which was good in a way, because it was saying, right, this is the League One. If we just come up, we'd obviously had a big 6-month break like everyone else. We're playing against the established League One team. And then we also played Charlton, Wigan and Hull in our first 6 league games as well. So I think that was really good to see, 3 teams that have come down from the Championship, plus a really well-established League One team who were expected to be kicking on that season. So I think our main development areas were from that. And I think, like I said, on that particular day, the best team won. And you think, right, okay, if they can defend as well as they did like that and play like that, I think, it'll always be challenging. But just looking at your form at the minute and some of the results, you seem to be conceding a few goals now. So from an outside view looking in, from obviously where you've progressed, I thought, right, really good defensively. That doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. And then I think that's also what you're still scoring goals, which I never thought was going to be an issue for Lincoln with the quality you've got. I know obviously Grant might be injured, but he's got upwards 15 Tony Scully 12, Tom Hopper 8. Monsmer obviously was, got off to a really good start and scored a lot as well. So I don't think goals are going to be your issue. It seems like at the back at the minute you might need to tighten up a little bit more. But I think that bodes well for Tuesday because we can't keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
But we score goals ourselves. So yeah, I think that's how I would rate it from the outside looking in.
We're sort of hoping for a repeat of the Plymouth game, but we just come out on top for once rather than not. Obviously, you mentioned sort of key players there for Lincoln. I think one player that you might we would have heard a lot about him because there's a lot in the press about him because he's quite a upcoming young English talent. Morgan Rogers from Manchester City. I feel like he's taking like a duck to water, at this level. You might not have him on your notes that you're looking at presently, but
yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah,
he's one player that could well be. I'm not going to compare him, but a similar sort of career path to Jack Grealish when he dropped down to Notts County in League Two and League One. That sort of esque. But in terms of you mentioned about we've halted in recent weeks. Our Crewe now. Licking the lips a little bit at the fact that we've lost back-to-back games. We've not won at home what feels like forever. Are you sort of, this is like the best time for you to come to Central Bank, surely? Are you thinking that you might come away with 3 points?
I think we always back ourselves whenever we play. So like I said, we're in quite a tough run of fixtures at the minute. It's like I say, you on Saturday, we played Blackpool last night, Sunderland before, Accrington, Peterborough, in the last 5 or 6 games. So that's all teams who are near the top. The last 3, we've got 5 points out of 9 against, some really good sides, pushing for automatic as well as playoffs like yourself. So we would see you guys in the same vein, but we know that Lincoln, with their, like I said, their squad quality and depth, that it's going to be a tough game, especially away. So that's the way so I probably won't see it on form. I'll probably go, right, Lincoln away, that's going to be a tough game. But like I said, we don't fear anyone because I think sometimes with us, it's better to play top of the teams near the top because they play football.
Yeah.
I'd rather prefer that rather than going to a Northampton where we know they're going to be scrappy. We know they're going to give us a thing. It was the same with the Swindon game a couple of weeks back where we lost 2-1.
Yeah.
How we lost that game, I will never know. We should have been 5 or 6, and they scored in the 96th minute to make it 2-1. And you'll go, that as frustrating it is, that's football, but they've scrapped and they fought for that. Not any good at all, but they've got the win. Whereas Lincoln, it's going to be a good footballing. It's going to be 2 good teams going for it. So that's the way I'd see it, Lincoln. I'm expecting, good game of football. One thing that I will say is that we're wasting so many chances at the moment. And I think that's our Achilles heel. It was the same again last night. We could have been 2 or 3 up against Blackpool, but we weren't. They scored and we had to come back into it. Whereas I think Lincoln, they'll take those chances. And I think that's then the difference between us getting the playoffs and then a team like yourself getting into the playoffs or going up automatically. You've got that quality where a chance where it might be a 1-0, you can put it in the back of the net and you win the game.
And with the games coming thick and fast, our Crewe sort of dealing, obviously the players will be tired. Are you seeing, like we are, especially at the minute, the players seem to be a little bit more lethargic and showing a bit more fatigue in the 90 minutes rather than at the start of the season where they're all just buzzing to be back out on the grass?
I think injuries having more of an impact for us, for our squad size. I think in terms of energy, I don't think because we obviously have such a young, energetic team. I don't think energy is ever too much of an issue. I think injuries are playing more of an issue, especially at right back at the moment. I mean, we sold Perry NG to Cardiff and we had loads of people in at right back, and now all of a sudden we haven't got a right back. So it's like, how are 3 people injured in? It's one of those sod law of football where you sell him, you go, got plenty of cover. He's never been injured before. Then all of a sudden, the other 2 right backs are injured, and you're thinking, oh,
yeah.
And I think we've had some real rotation at the back at the moment, especially at centre back and right back, like I said. So I think that's just affecting consistency. So Donovan Daniels has been at the club since the summer, but he's only really coming back into fitness. He went off injured last night. there's always been a centre-back rotation with Omar Beckles. So Omar Beckles has always played at centre-back, but he's had either Luke Offord playing there, Nathan Ward, Ollie Lancashire. That seems to rotate on a daily basis as well, and that's due to injuries. I think Luke Offord being out was massive for us. He's been absolutely brilliant since he came into the team, and I think people don't realise how much of a miss he is. And I think also in central midfield, I think we're lacking. Like I said, the Ollie Finney picked up a broken leg away at Shrewsbury a couple of weeks ago, and I think we were quite short in that area. So we had Luke Murphy, Ollie Finney, Tommy Lowry. Wasn't too many central midfield options. So I think now that Ollie Finney's out injured, we're sort of very sparse in that area. So maybe say we're going at it at 80 minutes, it might be 1-1, we might be pushing. You might be able to bring some extra legs on central midfield with your squad size and squad depth, where we might not have that luxury. We might have to put another winger or attacker on. So I think that's probably where I would say is probably affecting us rather than the actual energy or lethargicness of our particular squad due to their age.
And that man you talk about might be one of your academy graduates in Jonah. Obviously came to the club, and so he's been sort of left out in recent weeks, with the form of Bridcut, McGrandles, and George Grant, as you've mentioned earlier. But watching Jones play for your club must have been brilliant. But what's it sort of been like keeping an eye on him sort of in another club's colours, if that sort of makes sense?
We always hear that he's doing well, and I think we always have an affinity with those ex-players. Like I mentioned, Perry Ng now is doing really well for Cardiff. We have a sense of immense pride when we hear that our players who we've seen have then gone on to do really well. But then sometimes people are surprised. It's like, why are you surprised that a player that we know is really good is doing well? It doesn't surprise us, but we're very happy that he's doing well. Dave Artell said something really, really striking the other week. So he said, the belief in these players, if I put an extra £1,000 Crewe players, if I gave them an extra £2,000-3,000 a week, they think that they're really, they believe that they're much better than they are.
Yeah.
I think when they go to the other clubs and they get that wage, they then believe it. So it's always been there and they always believe it, and they go into that environment and they kick on and they do well, and then they actually think it, and they'll go, and Dave Artell tell them, I told you. So it doesn't surprise us that obviously those players are doing well, because we know that they were good players. They've come through our academy and we've seen them playing to get their opportunity. And I'm really pleased for James Jones as well, because he had a bit of a setback. I think he was supposed to go to Preston a couple of years ago, picked up a broken leg, and then when he took a long time to come back, when he did come back, he then couldn't really get into the team. So it's really good to see him actually, thrive in his career. It'd be great if he was still at the club, but we know that, what Lincoln would be offering compared to us, as a human being, it's a no-brainer. And like I said, he could be playing championship football next season. And, he's got competition to. Well, he could be though, couldn't he? He's got a realistic chance, haven't you? And you've got a good squad, so why not? And we're seeing it with Perry Ng now. We'll be doing the same with Harry Picker when he goes to Blackburn next season. We'll be looking out for Blackburn and seeing how he's doing it. It'd be the same for James Jones as well. There's no ill will towards him. We wish him all the best, but obviously, hopefully, he doesn't start and do anything too drastic on Saturday.
I think if we get promoted as well, we might be taking a look at that Charlie Kirk if we could afford him. Highly unlikely, but it's always worth a glance. Let's move on to Saturday then. Sorry, what were you going to say, mate?
I was going to say, it depends what the release clause is, because that's what happened with NG and Pickering. They only signed new deals. Not NG. Pickering and Kirk only signed new deals if there's a release clause in there. So if you meet the release clause, there you go. And in a championship club, it's not going to be anything. I think it's like $600,000. And if you're a championship club, that's not too bad for a player who is going to be championship championship quality. So yeah.
Well, that would be like 6 times our record signing of John Akinde when we won the league, when we won League Two. So it would be quite the investment. But as I said earlier, let's get down to Saturday afternoon then. How are you expecting Crewe to approach this one? Are they going to come at Lincoln? Are they going to play into our hands a little bit and go for the winner, or are they going to come sit in a low block like we've seen with Northampton, we've seen with other teams of that ilk, Swindon as well? Sorry, pardon me. Are Crewe going to come and seeing the results that we've had at home? Are they going to come to beat us, or are they going to? Would you take a point now? Is essentially what I'm going to ask you.
So I sorted 2 questions there. So I think it's going to be a draw on Saturday, and a draw away at Lincoln would be a good point. I said the same at Blackpool last night. People were disappointed we didn't get the win, but that shows how we're approaching it. So if you say, well, Lincoln away or Blackpool away, we've got a point. Oh, I'm quite disappointed with that. It's because we're on the front foot. We're trying to win the game. We're putting you under pressure. We're not going to come to Lincoln, get 10 men behind the ball and try and play for a set piece. We will put you under pressure. We will go at you. And I think our first halves are really good. We're on top. We play the football, but like I said, it's us not finishing our chances. And in the second half, because we haven't taken our chances, we're under a bit of pressure because the other teams either scored or they're growing into it a bit more. And I think a lot of the managers, the opposition managers, are giving their players a bit of a rocket at half time because Crewe's outplayed them, and it's like, well, expect a bit of an onslaught, and that's what happened with Sunderland. So I expect the same on Saturday. We won't change because we're playing Lincoln away. We wouldn't change if we were playing Sunderland away. We play the way that we play. We won't change that because we don't really know how to play another way. And I think that's probably why we slightly tweaked from the 4-3-3. I reckon we'll stick with the 4-4-2 with Mandron and Porter up front. So, yeah, and that's why I think it's going to be a good game because, one of us, you might come out the blocks and it's like, right, well, that's good. You want to see 2 good footballing teams go for it. And that's why I think there'll be goals. May not be like the 4-3 Plymouth, but I reckon it might be 2-2. But then if you do win, the pressure's on you at the end of the day. You're the ones who are vying for automatic promotion. You're the ones who are in a bad run. You're the ones who are at home. Your fans will be expecting to beat Crewe. So we'll look at it and go, well, the pressure's on Lincoln. We'll go and play our game and put them under pressure, like you say. If you're on a bad run and you've got that negative mindset, and there's obviously if there was fans there might be a bit more of a edgy atmosphere there.
Yeah.
We should capitalise on that. So the pressure's on you guys. You should be beating us, and I think your fans be looking at that and going, at home, we've been a bit of a sticky patch. We should be, if we've got real intentions of going up, that's a game you should be winning. We should be capitalising that and going, well, they're under pressure. We'll play that we play. We'll give it a go.
Yeah, similar to Fleetwood on Tuesday night, but what I would say in regards to that game was, if this game follows a similar sort of pattern, if you come out the blocks like Fleetwood did and attack, the last 20 minutes, especially when we brought on Callum Morton, it sort of changed the game completely. Obviously, a player that you all know from League Two. Probably would it be fair in the last half of the season? He was probably the player of the division in the last sort of 10, 15 games with the goals he scored. Would that be fair? I've spoken to Northampton fans a lot, and they've sort of said that they got promoted due to Callum Morton's goals. He's a top player definitely, and he's only just come back from injury, which has sort of hampered us a little bit this season. But I was just interested to gauge your thoughts on Morton, because you would have seen more of him last year than we have so far this year.
Yeah, obviously, it probably is one of the main reasons why Northampton got promoted last season, because if you took him out of the team, that I don't think they would have. They were a bang average team, and you're seeing now with him, with how Northampton is struggling now, and they took out Charlie Good, Verdane Oliver, and Callum Morton. That was probably their 3 main players last season, and they just sneaked into the playoffs. And like you said, watching the playoffs, Callum Morton, I think I remembered that he was just relentless in just chasing the others down and just being a nuisance. But he's also got that bit of quality to put the ball away as well. You know, it's sort of, obviously I'm not saying it's the same level, but Jamie Vardy ilk, you know, quite diminutive, but just a nuisance, and just doesn't stop and just doesn't give defenders a minute's peace. And I think if you for opposition, you go, I don't want to play against him. But then on the other side, a bit like Diego Costa at Chelsea, wasn't it? You think, I absolutely hate him, but you'd want him on your side, wouldn't you? Because he winds other people up. So that's what I'd say about Callum Morton. You know, I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. But it'd be interesting, like I said, if he's just come back from injury, if he does come back either the same player or he might have just stagnated a bit. But that's saying he might score the winner on Saturday and all you know. So, but yeah, he's definitely someone I would look out for.
A bit similar to Matt Reid, who's actually from your sort of neck of the woods, I suppose. He's a bit of a player that you'd rather have on your team than against. I'm not sure if you'd have come up against Reedy a time or two, but certainly one of those sort of figures.
Well, Cohen Bramall's come through as well, isn't he? Then made it through our academy. Obviously, went to Arsenal, didn't he? And then to Colchester. I think he's really good. We obviously saw him a few times in League Two last season, playing left back for Colchester. I think he was quite good at set pieces, and his pace. I remember his pace was just ridiculous. That battle against him last season, obviously with our wingers of Daniel Powell, you know, Owen Dale and Charlie Kirk, was something that I really saw, because they're quick players, and when he lost the ball, he was back there as well. And I think from our point of view, because he was from Crewe, it's like, well, how has he sort of slipped through the net there? He should be at our academy, but obviously when Arsenal come calling, you're not gonna turn it away. So yeah.
He's struggled a little bit since he's come into the building, but I think a lot of January signings sort of fail to hit the ground running, don't they, when they first enter the building? I think it would be a bit unfair for Lincoln fans to say after 4 games, you know, he's rubbish. Let's just play someone else at left back. I think that'd be unfair. Anyway, me and you could probably talk forever. We probably will after we've finished the recording. Let's just quickly get a score prediction of you before we end the video.
2-2.
2-2. Oh god, not another one. Oh, we're getting 9 there. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Ant. It's been a massive pleasure. Your insight is second to none in terms of Crewe Alex. Where can Lincoln fans find you on Twitter?
So Ant Evans 88 is my hashtag, and what I usually do, because obviously I'm watching the iFollow throughout the game, I'll be uploading, you know, highlights, contentious decisions, dodgy ref decisions, goals, everything. So yeah, Ant Evans 88 on Twitter, and during the match day on Saturday, I'll be, you know, doing a preview as well, and also commenting throughout the match and uploading a load of highlights as well. So yeah.
And he might be on the pitch as well if all goes to plan.
yeah. Score the winner. Why not?
Anyway, as I say, Ant, thanks for coming on. You'll probably see Ant towards the back end of the season if all goes to plan. But thank you again, Ant, for coming on. Thank you everybody else for watching, and we'll see you for another preview next week.
Yeah, Jake.